The silence living inside your own home may be the loudest sign that your marriage is slowly dying, and most people only realize it when it is already too late. I want you to stop for a moment. I want you to take a breath, a real one, slow and deliberate, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself for the next few minutes. Not with me, with yourself. Because what I am about to share with you today is not just a list of signs or a collection of Islamic reminders. What I am about to share with you is a mirror. And mirrors can be uncomfortable. They can show us things we have been avoiding, things we have been too afraid to name, things we have been pushing down into the deeper corners of our hearts, because naming them would make them real. But my dear brother, my dear sister, the reality is already real, whether you name it or not. The pain you are feeling is already there. The loneliness you go to sleep with every night is already present. And the longer you leave it unnamed, the longer it stays unhealed. So stay with me today. Please stay with me, because I promise you, what I am about to walk you through has the power to completely transform how you see your marriage, how you see yourself, and how you see your relationship with Allah in the middle of the hardest season of your life. And I am not saying this to hold your attention. I am saying this because I have spoken with thousands of men and women living in quiet, invisible agony inside their own homes. And almost every single one of them said the same thing afterward. I wish someone had told me this earlier. I wish I had not waited so long to see it clearly. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. If you believe in Allah, if you trust that He is the most merciful and the most aware of everything you are going through right now, then go to the comments right now and type, I love Allah. Not as a ritual, not as a performance, but as an act of surrender, as a declaration that even in your pain, even in your confusion, even in the moments when your marriage feels completely broken, you still hold on to the rope of the Most High. Type it now and let us begin this journey together. There is something I want to say to you before we even reach the first sign, and it is this. The fact that you are here, the fact that something in you was drawn to this message today is not a coincidence. In Islam, we understand deeply that Allah places things in our path at the exact moment we need them. Maybe you stumbled across this today while scrolling through your phone feeling exhausted and empty. Maybe someone sent it to you without knowing what you are going through. Maybe something deep inside you knew this was for you before you even pressed play. Whatever brought you here, I want you to know that you are not alone in what you are feeling. And by the time we reach the end of this message, and I promise you we will get there together, you will walk away with something more valuable than advice. You will walk away with clarity. And clarity, my dear friend, is where healing begins. Now let me ask you something deeply personal. When was the last time your spouse truly looked at you? Not through you, not past you, not at the screen behind you, but at you with warmth, with genuine curiosity, with the kind of attention that makes a person feel like they matter. When was the last time a conversation in your home felt like two souls actually reaching toward each other, rather than two strangers carefully exchanging only the information they need to get through the day? If that question just landed heavy somewhere in your chest, if it brought up a feeling you have been trying to ignore, then what I am about to share with you today is for you. And I need you to promise yourself that you will stay. I need you to promise yourself that you will not click away when it gets uncomfortable. Because the parts that make you uncomfortable are precisely the parts that hold your healing. Let me begin with the first sign, and I need you to really sit with this one, because it is the one that most people dismiss as just going through a rough patch. And in doing so, they allow something that could have been addressed early to become a wound so deep it defines the entire relationship. The first sign that your spouse is ignoring you is when your conversations consistently feel one-sided, when you speak and your words land nowhere. When you try to share something that happened during your day, something small, something meaningful, something that excited you or worried you, and the response you receive is either cold, flat, completely absent, or quickly redirected towards something your spouse finds more interesting. Imagine this for a moment. You come home after a difficult day. You have been carrying something emotionally all afternoon. It could be a worry about your health, a concern about your children, a feeling of anxiety about the future, something that has been sitting in the background of your mind the entire day, quietly weighing you down. And you walk through the door into the one space in the world that is supposed to be your sanctuary, and you try to share that thing with your spouse. And what do you get? A distracted hum of acknowledgement, a one-word response, their eyes still fixed on a screen, a subject change so swift it makes your head spin. And in that moment, something small inside you quietly folds in on itself. You do not make a scene, you do not argue, you simply learn the lesson that your inner world is not welcome here. And here is what is so painful, so quietly devastating about this pattern. It does not happen once and then stop. It happens over and over again, conversation by conversation, day by day, dismissal by dismissal, until one day you realize that you have completely stopped sharing anything real. You talk about the weather, about the groceries, about what needs to be fixed in the house, about the children's schedules, about bills and logistics and surface level information. But the real you, the you who has dreams and fears and questions and emotions, that version of you has gone completely underground. And you are living in your own home like a guest who is not sure they are welcome. Our Lord, exalted be He, described the relationship between husband and wife in the noble Quran with three of the most extraordinary and tender words in all of human language. He placed between you affection, He placed mercy, and He gave you tranquility in each other. I want you to sit with the word tranquility for a moment. Tranquility, it means peace. It means the quiet settling of a storm. It means that when you are with your spouse, the noise inside you should become calmer, not louder. The anxiety inside you should soften, not sharpen. The loneliness inside you should dissolve, not deepen. When conversations are consistently one-sided, when your attempts at connection are consistently met with indifference, the very opposite of tranquility begins to take root in your home. And a home without tranquility is not truly a home. It is just a building where two people happen to sleep. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was a man who listened. He was a man whose companions said that when he sat with you, he gave you the impression that you were the most important person in the room. He asked questions. He remembered small details. He engaged with people in a way that made them feel completely seen and completely valued. And he treated his wives with that same quality of attention. He sat with Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, and listened to her stories about the people of pre-Islamic Arabia. Long stories. Stories that had nothing to do with religious instruction. Stories she simply wanted to share. And he listened, not because he had nothing else to do, but because she mattered to him. Her inner world mattered to him. And in honoring her desire to be heard, he was fulfilling one of the most sacred duties of marriage, the duty of genuine presence. If you are living with someone who has never given you that quality of attention, or who gave it to you once and then gradually withdrew it, I want you to know that you are not asking for too much when you want to be heard. Wanting to be heard is not a personality flaw. It is a human need that Allah Himself placed inside you. And the absence of it in your marriage is not something small. It is not something you should minimize. It is a real, significant absence that deserves to be acknowledged and, when possible, addressed. But stay with me, because we are just getting started. Because the second sign is one that is even more insidious, because it is the kind of pain that hides behind the appearance of a functioning life. The second sign that your spouse is ignoring you is when everything between you feels superficial and empty, when the only conversations you have are about logistics, about tasks, about the external machinery of daily life, and there is no depth, no curiosity, no meaningful exchange of anything that actually lives inside either one of you. Let me describe this to you in a way that I think will feel deeply familiar to many of you. You and your spouse wake up in the morning. You navigate the morning routine. You talk about who is picking up the children, what needs to be done at the weekend, what is for dinner. You might sit together in the evening watching something on a screen. You go to sleep, and then the same pattern repeats the next day and the next and the next. And from the outside, it looks like a functional marriage. It looks like a life being managed competently. But inside your chest, there is a slowly expanding emptiness. Because at no point during any of this daily machinery does anyone ask how you actually are. At no point does anyone say, I have been thinking about you today, or I noticed you seem distant this week. Is everything okay? Or I want to know what you are dreaming about lately. There is no curiosity about your inner world, no exploration of your emotional landscape, no genuine desire to know what is happening beneath your surface. And this kind of emptiness, I want to be very honest with you about this, is one of the cruelest forms of loneliness that exists in the human experience. Because you are not physically alone, you are not technically abandoned, you have a spouse, you have a shared home, you might have children and a social life and all the external markers of a complete life. But emotionally, spiritually, you are completely alone. You are carrying your joys alone, your fears alone, your questions alone, your grief alone. And there is a particular exhaustion that comes with that, a bone-deep tiredness that has nothing to do with your work or your schedule, and everything to do with the fact that you have been emotionally self-sufficient in a relationship that was supposed to offer you emotional companionship. I want to tell you something about human beings that I think gets forgotten in conversations about marriage. We are not designed for mere coexistence. Allah did not create us to simply share space with another human being and call that a marriage. We are creatures of depth. We are creatures of meaning. We are creatures who need to be known, genuinely known, in the way that only another soul who has chosen to stay close to us can know us. When a marriage is reduced to logistics and surface level exchange, when it offers no depth, no curiosity, no genuine knowing of one another, something in the human soul begins to quietly starve. And that starvation does not make noise. It does not announce itself. It just slowly, quietly empties you from the inside. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, told us that the best of you is the one who is best to his family. And the scholars of Islam have always understood this to mean not just provision, not just financial support and physical care, but emotional presence, emotional investment. The act of showing up not just with your body, but with your heart. When your spouse is consistently emotionally absent, when there is no curiosity, no depth, no genuine desire to know you beyond the surface, they are falling short of one of the most fundamental obligations of the marital covenant. And recognizing that is not blaming, it is seeing clearly. And seeing clearly is always the first step toward change. And now I want to move to the third sign. And this one requires a particular kind of honesty, because it is the sign that is the hardest to admit to yourself, because it means confronting the possibility that the person you married has never fully let you in. The third sign is when your spouse consistently hides behind a false version of themselves, when they maintain a controlled image even with you, even in the privacy of your shared home, when vulnerability and emotional honesty feel completely impossible for them, and what you are in a relationship with is not the real person, but the performance they have constructed to show the world. Think about the early days of your relationship. There was a version of your spouse that you fell in love with, a version that seemed warm, open, engaging, perhaps even emotionally available in ways that drew you in completely. But over time, as the relationship moved beyond the courtship phase, as the need to impress faded and real life set in, you began to notice something. The warmth became selective. The openness disappeared. What you thought was emotional availability turned out to be emotional strategy, a carefully deployed performance designed to secure the relationship, which was then retired once the relationship was secured. And now, years into a marriage, you find yourself living with someone who tells you everything is fine when everything is clearly not fine. Who insists they are not upset when every single non-verbal signal in their body is radiating hostility. Who refuses to acknowledge their own mistakes or their own pain. Who cannot say I was wrong. Who cannot say I am struggling. Who cannot say I need you. Because that would require them to be real. And being real means being vulnerable. And being vulnerable for whatever reason is something they are not willing to do. The capacity for vulnerability in a marriage is not optional. It is essential. The ability to say to your spouse, this is where I am weak. This is where I am afraid. This is the part of me that I find difficult to look at, and to trust that they will hold that with care rather than use it against you. That is the foundation of genuine intimacy. Without it, you do not have a marriage. You have two people performing for each other indefinitely, and that is exhausting. It is hollow, and it is deeply contrary to the spirit of what Allah intended when He made the marital bond one of the most sacred covenants in all of creation. I want you to sit with this feeling for a moment, the feeling of reaching towards someone and finding not a person, but a wall. The feeling of trying to have a real conversation and watching your spouse carefully redirect every question back to safer territory. The feeling of loving someone who will not let themselves be loved fully, because letting themselves be loved would require them to be seen, and they are terrified of being seen. That fear in them is causing pain in you, and you are not responsible for their fear, but you do live with its consequences every single day. Now, let me move you to the fourth sign, and I want you to pay very close attention here, because this is the one that does the most silent psychological damage over time. This is the one that can slowly, without you even realizing it, rewire the way you relate to yourself. The fourth sign is when your spouse uses emotional withdrawal as a tool of control. Not as a natural response to hurt, not as a healthy need for space, but as a deliberate strategy. When things do not go their way, when there is any form of disagreement or conflict, or even just a moment where you express a need that they find inconvenient, they pull away, they go cold. They create an atmosphere of such heavy, suffocating silence that you feel the only way to breathe again is to chase them, to apologize, to shrink yourself, to abandon whatever you were feeling or needing and make yourself small enough to restore peace. Sit with this feeling. You know this feeling, do you not? The way the atmosphere in the room changes, the way their eyes go flat, the way they stop responding to you, not because they have nothing to say, but because they have decided that your silence is the punishment you deserve right now. And you walk around on eggshells, carefully modulating your tone, your expression, your words, monitoring yourself constantly, trying to figure out what to do or say that will bring them back, that will thaw the ice, that will restore some semblance of warmth. And eventually you find the right words, or you make the right gesture, and they soften, and there is an enormous sense of relief. But beneath that relief, something else is happening, something that will only become clear to you much later. You are being trained. You are learning that expressing your needs leads to punishment. You are learning that the price of honesty is emotional abandonment. And so slowly, over weeks and months and years, you stop expressing your needs altogether. You stop being honest about your feelings. You become a person who has learned that peace in this home requires your silence. And that is not peace, that is compliance under duress. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, forbade the prolonged silent treatment between believers. He said it is not permissible for a Muslim to cut off ties for more than 3 days, after which the better of the two is the one who initiates reconciliation. And this guidance was given for general relationships between believers. Imagine then, how much more serious is this obligation within the walls of a marriage, where two people have stood before Allah and made a covenant of companionship and mercy. When emotional withdrawal becomes a weapon in a marriage, it is not just an emotional problem, it is a spiritual one. It is a violation of the very promise that was made when this union began. Now, I want to transition to something, and this transition is important because what comes next is where many people have the most private, most shameful pain. The fifth sign is when your spouse consistently prioritizes everything and everyone else over you. And I do not mean the normal healthy reality of two people having full lives outside of each other. I mean the pattern where you consistently feel like the last consideration in your own home, where work always comes first, where friends are responded to immediately while your messages sit unread for hours, where their family of origin, their hobbies, their personal interests, their phone, their entertainment always seem to take precedence over any time, energy or attention that could have been given to you. I want to describe this to you through the eyes of someone who has lived it, because I think it will help you recognize whether this is your reality. Imagine a wife who has been waiting all week for a quiet evening with her husband. Not a grand gesture, not a date night with an expensive restaurant, just a quiet evening. Just 2 hours of his actual presence, without his phone on the table, without one eye on the football, without him getting up to take calls or scroll through social media. Just 2 hours of being chosen. And when that evening comes, something always comes up. There is always a reason why it cannot be that night. And she adjusts and she waits for the next opportunity. And the same thing happens again. And she begins to feel quietly, privately, in a part of her heart she would never show anyone, that she is simply not interesting enough to be chosen. That everything in his life is more urgent, more valuable, more deserving of his focus than she is. And that is a wound that does not announce itself. It accumulates, and one day it is so heavy it begins to change who she is. Or imagine a husband who tries repeatedly to plan time with his wife, who comes home wanting connection, who tries to initiate conversations, who tries to suggest they do something together, and is consistently met with busyness. She is on the phone. She has something to deal with. She is tired. Not the tiredness that comes from a hard day and passes with rest, but a consistent, permanent unavailability that seems to have exceptions for everyone except him. And he begins to feel invisible in his own marriage. He begins to wonder if the warmth and attention she gives so freely to the outside world is something he did something wrong to lose. And the self-doubt that creeps in from that wondering is one of the quietest and most damaging things that can happen to a person inside a marriage. Allah elevated the rights of the spouse in Islam with extraordinary seriousness. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, speaking to both men and women, consistently emphasized the importance of the marital relationship as a priority, as something that required active, conscious, daily investment. Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, one of the greatest companions and scholars, said that he liked to beautify himself for his wife, just as he liked her to beautify herself for him. And what he was describing was not just physical appearance, he was describing a posture of prioritization. A posture that says, you matter enough that I make an effort for you. You matter enough that I direct energy toward you. You are not the last consideration in my life. You are one of the first. And now stay with me, because the sixth sign is one that most people feel but cannot name. And the moment I describe it, I think something in you is going to recognize it very clearly. The sixth sign is when your spouse stops making any effort for you. Not the catastrophic withdrawal of effort, not a dramatic collapse, but the slow, quiet, almost imperceptible disappearance of the small things. The small gestures of care, the small expressions of appreciation, the small acts of thoughtfulness that once said to you without words, I see you, I notice you, you are on my mind. In the beginning there was effort. Perhaps they brought you something small you mentioned liking. Perhaps they remembered an important date without being reminded. Perhaps they sent you a message during the day just to say they were thinking of you. Perhaps they asked at the end of the day, genuinely asked, how was your day? And then actually listened to the answer. Perhaps they noticed when you were tired and took something off your plate without being asked. Perhaps they planned something for you, not a grand plan, just something that said, I was thinking about what would make you happy and I tried to provide it. And in those small things, in those quiet acts of consideration, you felt loved. Not because of the act itself, but because of what the act communicated. I am paying attention to you. You matter to me. I want to contribute to your happiness. When that effort disappears from a marriage, when it stops so gradually that you cannot even pinpoint exactly when the last small gesture was, the effect on a person is profound. You begin to feel taken for granted. You begin to feel like a piece of furniture in your own home, noticed only when something is needed from you, invisible the rest of the time. And the painful irony is that you are probably still making enormous effort for your spouse, still cooking with care, still being thoughtful, still showing up, still noticing, still trying, while receiving less and less in return. And that asymmetry, that imbalance wears you down in a way that is very difficult to describe to someone who has not felt it. Because from the outside you still look fine, but inside you are running on empty, giving from a place of depletion, pouring out of a cup that no one is refilling. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, spoke often about gratitude and appreciation within the marital relationship. He specifically said that the one who does not thank people does not thank Allah. And the scholars of Islam understood this to apply with particular force within marriage, where so much of what is done, especially by wives but also by husbands in different ways, is done quietly, consistently, without fanfare, without any expectation of recognition. When a spouse stops expressing gratitude, stops making effort, stops showing that they notice and value what the other is doing, they are failing a duty that the Prophet himself elevated to the level of worship. Because the act of making your spouse feel valued, of letting them know that their presence and their contribution and their love are seen and appreciated, is itself an act of worship in Islam. Now let me take you to the seventh sign. And I told you earlier that there would be a point that would shake you if you were honest with yourself. And this is it. The seventh sign is when your spouse refuses to grow with you. When you are striving, reading, learning, turning more and more toward Allah, trying to become a better version of yourself. And instead of walking that journey beside you, your spouse is entirely stationary, not struggling to keep up with growth, not trying and failing, but fundamentally uninterested, resistant even, and sometimes, most painfully of all, quietly dismissive of the growth you are pursuing. This is a particular kind of aloneness that I do not think gets talked about enough, because there is a version of loneliness that comes from a spouse who is absent, but there is another version that comes from a spouse who is present but pulling in a completely different direction. When you are trying to build a home of faith, trying to raise children with spiritual grounding, trying to deepen your own relationship with the one who created you, and your spouse looks at all of that with indifference or even quiet contempt, the gap between you does not stay the same over time. It grows. Because growth and stagnation cannot stay at the same distance from each other indefinitely. As you move forward, the distance increases. And eventually you can find yourself in a marriage where you and your spouse are living in completely different internal worlds, sharing a physical space but nothing else. Allah says in the noble Quran, "O you who believe, protect yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is people and stones." And the scholars explain this to mean that the spiritual protection and elevation of the family is a sacred duty. When a spouse refuses to participate in that duty, when they are comfortable with spiritual mediocrity or absence, they are not just failing themselves, they are failing the family. They are failing the covenant they made before Allah when they entered into marriage. And you, on the other side of that refusal, are left to do twice the spiritual work. To be the anchor of faith for yourself and for your children while your spouse drifts in a different direction. That is a burden. And I want you to name it as one. Not to create resentment, but because naming it is the first step toward addressing it. And now the 8th sign, and this one I want to speak about very gently because it carries a particular kind of pain that deserves tenderness. The 8th sign is when you feel more alone in your spouse's presence than you do when you are actually by yourself. There is a loneliness that only exists inside relationships. It is the loneliness of being with someone who is not truly with you, of lying in the same bed while being miles away from each other, of eating at the same table while existing in completely separate emotional universes. And this loneliness is different from other kinds of loneliness because it carries an additional layer of confusion. Because something in you keeps saying, I should not feel this way. I am not alone. I have someone. But the someone you have is not here with you. And that confusion, that cognitive dissonance between the external reality of having a spouse and the internal reality of feeling completely isolated is genuinely disorienting. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, just to yourself in the privacy of your own heart. Is there someone in your life, a friend, a sibling, a colleague, a person you speak to occasionally, whose presence feels more emotionally nourishing, more genuinely connecting than being with your spouse? If the answer to that question is yes, I am not asking you to feel guilty about it. I am not suggesting anything inappropriate. I am simply asking you to see what that comparison is telling you. It is telling you that you have a need for genuine human connection that is not being met in your marriage. And that unmet need is seeking satisfaction wherever it can find it, because human beings are not designed to go without genuine connection indefinitely. Allah is described in the Quran as being closer to the human being than their own jugular vein. He knows the loneliness you feel in your own home. He knows the nights when you lay in the dark and felt completely invisible to the person sleeping beside you. He knows the mornings when you got up and performed the day and smiled and functioned while internally running on a kind of emotional fumes. He sees it all. And He does not turn away from it. He does not dismiss it. He does not tell you that you are being too sensitive or that you should be more grateful for what you have. He sees the ache. He sees the need. And He is, in His infinite mercy, always responding to the one who brings their pain to Him honestly and completely. Now the 9th sign, and I need you to hear this one with particular care, because this is the one that damages people most deeply and most invisibly. The 9th sign is when your spouse consistently makes you feel that your emotions, your perceptions, your experience of reality itself is wrong. You express that you are hurt and they tell you that you are overreacting. You say that something they did affected you negatively, and they respond by cataloging your own flaws so comprehensively that by the end of the conversation, you have completely forgotten what you originally raised. You remember something happening, something that caused you pain, and they look at you with such utter conviction and say that never happened, or that is not what happened, or you are imagining things, and you find yourself genuinely questioning your own memory, your own perception, your own sanity. This is one of the most destructive things one human being can do to another within a marriage, because our sense of reality, our trust in our own perceptions is the foundation of everything. It is the foundation of our decision making, our emotional processing, our ability to understand and navigate the world around us. When that is systematically undermined, when you are consistently told that what you feel is not valid and what you remember is not real and what you perceive is distorted, you begin to lose trust in yourself in a way that extends far beyond the marriage. You begin to second guess your own instincts in every area of your life. You become tentative where you were once confident, unsure where you were once grounded, dependent on external validation where you were once self-assured. And all of that happened not because of any flaw in your character, but because you loved someone who used your trust in them to undermine your trust in yourself. Islam places immense value on justice, on honesty, on the straightforward acknowledgement of truth. Allah commands us in the Quran to be witnesses to justice, even against ourselves. When a spouse consistently rewrites the narrative of shared experience to avoid accountability, when they prioritize their ego over the truth of what their partner has lived and felt and experienced, they are being deeply unjust. And injustice within the walls of a marriage is among the most serious of violations, because the marital relationship is one that is built on a covenant of trust. When that trust is eroded, not by dramatic betrayal, but by the slow drip of consistent denial, the damage is often deeper and harder to repair than the damage of a single dramatic event. I want to speak to you directly for a moment. If you have been living with this, if you have been in a marriage where your feelings are consistently invalidated and your experience consistently denied, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not too sensitive. You are not imagining things. You are not asking for too much. Your feelings are real. Your perceptions have value. Your experience of your own life is valid. Allah created you with an inner world of extraordinary complexity and richness, with feelings that serve as navigational tools for understanding your own life, with perceptions that are trustworthy and meaningful. Your spouse does not have the authority to revoke the validity of any of that, no matter how confident they sound, no matter how often they repeat it. The truth of your inner experience belongs to you, and it is real. And now we reach the 10th sign, the last one, and I want to say something before I describe it. Some people come to a message like this hoping that what I am going to say will be manageable. They are hoping that each sign I describe will be recognizable, but not completely devastating. And for some of you, perhaps most of what I have described has been difficult but bearable. But for some of you, what I am about to describe now is the thing that has been living in the back of your mind for months or years, the thing you have been most afraid to look at directly. And I want to say to you, it is okay to look at it. It is okay to see it clearly. Seeing it clearly does not mean the end. It means the beginning of honest conversation, of wise action, of sincere prayer, of the possibility of change. The 10th sign is when your spouse no longer makes any attempt to repair the relationship when things break between you. When there is a conflict, a wound, a moment of real damage, they do not come back to it. They do not sit with you and say, let us talk about what happened. They do not reach across the distance and try to close it. They do not apologize, not genuinely, not in a way that demonstrates understanding of what they did and a real intention to do differently. And they do not invite your repair attempts with any genuine openness. They move on from conflicts as though they did not happen, leaving the wound unaddressed, the distance unclosed. The fracture in the relationship sealed over on the surface, but not actually healed underneath. And what this does over time is accumulate. Every unaddressed conflict is a brick. Every unrepaired wound is a brick. Every moment where a bridge needed to be built and was not is a brick. And those bricks stack up silently, invisibly between two people, until one day they look at each other across a wall so high they can barely see each other anymore. And they wonder how they got here. They wonder when things changed. But the truth is that things changed slowly, gradually, one unaddressed moment at a time. And if they had addressed each one as it arose, if they had turned toward each other instead of away from each other at every rupture, the wall would never have been built at all. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, told us that the best of people, when they commit an error, are the ones who repent. And within marriage, the capacity to repair, the willingness to return to a broken moment with honesty and humility and a genuine desire to do better is one of the most essential gifts one spouse can give to another. When that willingness is consistently absent, when your spouse moves through conflicts as though repair is your responsibility alone, or as though it is not necessary at all, the message being communicated, whether they intend it or not, is that the relationship is not worth the discomfort of genuine accountability. And that message, received repeatedly over time, does something irreversible to a person's belief in the possibility of real love in this marriage. So where do we go from here? I have walked you through 10 signs, and perhaps you recognized yourself in one of them, or perhaps you recognized yourself in all of them, and perhaps right now you are sitting with a heaviness that is half relief and half grief. Relief because someone has finally named what you have been living. Grief because having it named means you can no longer pretend it is not there. And I want to speak to both of those feelings because both of them deserve to be honored. The relief is telling you something important. It is telling you that your experience has been real all along, that the pain you have been feeling was not an overreaction, that the loneliness you have been carrying was not a sign of ingratitude, but a signal that something genuinely needs attention. You were not wrong to feel what you felt. You were not weak to be affected by what you have been affected by. You were simply a human being responding to a real and significant deficit in the most intimate relationship of your life. And now you see it clearly. And that clarity is a form of mercy from Allah. Because you cannot begin to address what you cannot see. And the grief is also telling you something important. It is telling you that you care, that you have not given up, that somewhere inside you, beneath all the exhaustion and confusion and pain, there is still a part of you that loves this person and grieves the gap between what your marriage is and what it was meant to be. That grief is not weakness, it is love. Imperfect, battered, worn down love, perhaps, but love nonetheless. And Allah sees that love. He honors it. And He is fully capable of transforming even the most rigid of hearts and the most frozen of relationships if both people genuinely turn to Him and ask for that transformation. So what do you do? First, and most importantly, you turn to Allah, not after you have figured everything else out. Not once you have had the conversation with your spouse or made your plan or reached a certain level of certainty about what to do. Right now, exactly as you are, in the middle of the confusion and the pain, you bring it to Allah. You open the book of your marriage and you lay it before Him and you say, "My Lord, You are the turner of hearts. You are the one who can change what I cannot change. You are the one who sees this more clearly than I ever will. Guide me. heal me. Either fix what is broken in my home or give me the wisdom and the strength to navigate this in a way that is pleasing to you. I want to tell you something about the power of sincere supplication, of genuine prayer from a broken place that I think we sometimes forget in our more functional moments. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, told us that the supplication of the one who has been wronged is lifted before Allah without any barrier. It goes straight. It is answered. Maybe not in the way we expect or on the timeline we hope for, but it is answered. And when you bring to Allah the honest pain of feeling ignored and unseen and emotionally abandoned in your own marriage, He receives that. He holds it and He responds to it with something better than any advice I or anyone else could offer you. Second, seek wise counsel, not the advice of a friend who will simply validate your pain and fuel your frustration, as valuable as genuine friendship is, but the counsel of people of knowledge, of scholars, of Islamic counselors, of community elders who have seen the complexity of marriages and who can help you navigate your specific situation with both spiritual grounding and practical wisdom. Islam did not leave us without a community for a reason. We are not meant to carry these things alone. And seeking help is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of wisdom. It is the acknowledgement that some things are bigger than any individual's ability to solve alone, and that Allah placed other people in your life as resources for exactly this kind of moment. Third, and this requires a great deal of courage, have an honest conversation with your spouse, not a confrontation, not an accumulation of every grievance ever held, released in one overwhelming flood, but a soft, sincere, deliberate expression of what you are experiencing and what you need. Begin with your own feelings rather than their behavior. Begin with I feel rather than you always or you never. Give them the opportunity to hear you without the defenses that accusation activates. And yes, they may respond badly, they may shut down, they may deflect, but you will have given the relationship the honest attempt it deserves. And whatever happens after that, you will know that you tried. Fourth, do not lose yourself in the trying. This is perhaps the most important practical guidance I can offer anyone in a difficult marriage. Do not pour yourself so completely into the effort to fix the relationship that you forget to take care of the soul living inside your own chest. You are not just a spouse. You are a human being. You are a creation of the Most High, invested with dignity and worth that does not derive from your marriage and cannot be revoked by its difficulties. Your spiritual practice, your connection with Allah, your relationships with people who genuinely see and value you, your physical health, your mental well-being, these things are not luxuries to be set aside while you focus entirely on your marriage. They are necessities. They are the foundation from which any genuine healing or change can come. Neglect them and you will find yourself with nothing left to give to anyone, including yourself. And I want to say something about patience, because I know that for some of you, patience in this context feels like a demand to keep suffering indefinitely. And I want to be very clear, that is not what patience means in Islam. Patience is not the requirement to tolerate harm silently and indefinitely. Patience is the strength to act with wisdom rather than reactivity. Patience is the capacity to remain connected to Allah's guidance even when everything in you wants to make a rash decision out of pain. Patience is what allows you to seek counsel, to try honest communication, to make sincere dua, to give the situation the genuine effort it deserves before making decisions of great consequence. Patience is active. Patience is engaged. Patience is the opposite of passive resignation. It is faith in action. And throughout all of this, through every conversation and every prayer and every moment of trying and every moment of exhaustion, I want you to hold on to something. I want you to hold on to the knowledge that Allah knows. He knows every moment of your marriage. He knows every time you swallowed a feeling to keep the peace. He knows every night you cried in a place where no one could see you. He knows every prayer you have made for your spouse's heart to change. He knows every time you chose patience when anger would have been easier. He knows every sacrifice you made for the sake of this marriage and the sake of your family. He knows all of it. And in Islam, not a single act done with sincerity for the sake of the Most High goes unwitnessed or unrewarded. Every particle of your effort and your pain and your patience is recorded, and it matters. I want to close today in a place of genuine hope, because while this message has covered difficult territory, I do not want you to leave it feeling crushed. I want you to leave it feeling clear, and clarity is always the beginning of hope. Because when you can see your situation honestly, when you can name what is happening without minimizing it or catastrophizing it, when you can hold both the difficulty of your present reality and the absolute certainty of Allah's wisdom and mercy simultaneously, then you are in the position of someone who can actually change something. You are not a victim of your marriage. You are a person in a difficult marriage who has access to the most powerful force in existence, the guidance and mercy and intervention of the one who controls all hearts. He can change your spouse. He can. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, made dua for the guidance of people that no human intervention could have reached. And Allah responded, He can soften what is hard. He can open what is closed. He can revive what has gone cold. He can turn a marriage that has been functioning as a transaction back into a sanctuary. Not because such things are easy, but because nothing is impossible for the one who said be and it is. Hold on to that. Pray for it. Specifically, pray for your spouse's heart. Pray for the transformation of your home. Pray with the full expectation that Allah hears and that He responds to every sincere call. Because He does. He always does. And if change does not come despite genuine effort, if you have tried with sincerity and patience and prayer and wise counsel, and the situation remains one that is genuinely harmful to your soul and your well-being, then know that Islam also provided avenues for that reality. Allah did not trap anyone in a situation of harm indefinitely. He is the most merciful. And the guidance of Islam on marriage includes both the encouragement to persevere with patience and wisdom, and the recognition that sometimes, after all genuine effort has been exhausted, the most merciful path is a dignified parting. Seek the guidance of scholars who know your situation in its full complexity before making any such decision. But know that you are not without options. You are not without rights. And you are never without the care of Allah. I want you to go to the comments right now. I am asking you for two things. The first is that you type I love Allah right now, from wherever you are, in whatever state you are in, whether you are feeling hopeful or heartbroken or somewhere in between. Type it as a declaration that even in this, even in the middle of a painful marriage and an uncertain future, you choose Allah, you hold on to Allah, you trust Allah. Type it and mean every letter of it, because you may never know how many people will read that comment and find the courage they needed in the simple declaration of your faith. And the second thing I am asking you to do is to share your situation in the comments. You do not have to use your real name. You do not have to share more than you are comfortable with. But write something. Tell this community what you are going through. Tell us what you have tried. Tell us how you are finding your way back to yourself and to Allah in the middle of it. Because I promise you There is someone reading this right now, someone who feels completely alone in exactly what you are living, who needs to know that another person has felt this way and survived it and found their way through it. Your honesty could be the thing that saves them. Your willingness to speak could be the thing that breaks someone else's silence. Do not underestimate the power of that. And if you are someone who almost did not watch this message today, if something almost made you scroll past it, I want you to understand what would have happened if you had. You would have gone back to exactly what you have been doing. You would have continued managing the pain, minimizing the signs, telling yourself it is not that bad, waiting for things to change on their own. And things do not change on their own. Hearts change when people turn to Allah. Marriages change when people see clearly and act wisely and pray sincerely. But none of that can happen from a place of denial. None of that can happen when you are looking away from what is real. Seeing it clearly, as uncomfortable as it is the most important thing you can do today. And you did it. So now use it. Apply what you have learned here. Make the dua tonight before you sleep. Seek the counsel you have been putting off. Have the conversation you have been avoiding. And as you do, remember that you are not alone in it. Allah is with the patient ones. He is with the sincere ones. He is with the ones who try for the sake of something greater than their own comfort. He is with you. And that, my dear brother, my dear sister, is everything. May Allah heal every broken home. May He soften every hardened heart. May He restore affection where it has grown cold and mercy where it has been replaced by harshness. May He give every person in a painful marriage the clarity to see clearly, the courage to act wisely, the patience to endure what must be endured, and the strength to change what must be changed. May He be enough for every one of us in every moment when everything else feels insufficient. And may He return to every heart that has lost its way back to the home that He designed marriage to be. A place of tranquility, of mercy, of deep and abiding love. Ameen.